What's the one piece of career advice you wish someone had given you when you were starting out?
It's a really interesting question. I think for me, it is about taking the opportunities to do things that are interesting. So I have always tried to do that, but I think probably be braver about it. If something looks really interesting, go for it. And it's not just about an interesting job, it might just be an interesting opportunity to shadow someone, or a project that you can get involved with, or they're looking for volunteers to do something and you sort of stick your hand up and say, do you know what, I'll give that a go. So I think it's that bit about being braver to do things that are maybe outside of comfort zone, because they might lead to something really exciting, really interesting.
Can you share a pivotal moment in your career journey that made a significant impact?
The most pivotal moment has to be coming into the NHS. So I spent the first half of my career in ExxonMobil, got an engineering degree, worked in oil refining, and then in 2005 I came into the NHS. And it was hugely pivotal in lots of ways, and I wouldn't be a chief exec in the NHS if I hadn't done that. I think it was also very testing in terms of, I thought I had some transferable skills, but I absolutely knew how refineries worked, how to maximise kind of the productivity on out of oil, and coming into the NHS and thinking, is any of this transferable? Is it going to make any difference at all? It was quite testing. And I think the one thing I would say is I deliberately chose to, when I moved sectors, to also drop down a level, because I thought, I haven't got the confidence or the skills to say, oh yeah, I'll transfer in at the same level, and that's fine, even though I haven't got any of the experience or history in that sector. And I sometimes talk to people that think they can come into the NHS from the private sector and retain their level in the organisation of seniority, but it was definitely worth doing.
How do you approach challenges and setbacks in your professional life, and what's your go-to strategy for overcoming them?
Well, I think the first thing is to remember that we all have setbacks. I love a poster we've got up in the hospital which shows projects as you think they will happen, which is a lovely flat straight road with a beginning and an end, and projects as they actually happen, which has kind of crocodile pits and mountains you have to climb and the road goes round and all of this. And I think so the first thing I always think is, this is normal. It's not that something's gone horribly wrong that was a massive surprise. So I think that kind of helps get things in perspective. I remember when I hadn't been here very long and we had CQC come and it wasn't going so well at the time. And I went to Winchester Cathedral for a service I'd been invited to, and I kind of looked at this building that has been there for, I don't know, hundreds of years, probably 1,000 years or something, and thought, in the grand scheme of things, this is difficult, but do you know what? In 10 years' time, people aren't going to be talking about this. Things will have moved on. So getting perspective is really helpful. And then the last thing I would say is, if it all feels a bit overwhelming, the question in my mind is, what is the next step? So I can't see a way through it all, but actually what's the next sensible step? And if we can start the next step and the next step and the next step, and then you'll find yourself on the other side of whatever it is.